His definition of success has changed. A few years ago, Pedro Medina wore a suit every day. He was the head of McDonald's in Colombia and always on the go. Now he lives here, away from stress and close to nature. This is the story of a man who found a new kind of wealth by reducing his needs, trying to help others, and do his part for the environment.
Well, it's all a process, no? For me, it started with a dream.
Pedro calls himself an idealist and believes that every change in life begins with a dream.
I grew up as the shy kid, as the kid that was picked last when they would play soccer, and thin. For me to take off my shirt was a reason of lots of shame. And today I have zero shame.
But how did everything start?
I wanted to run a company when I was 35, and after working in plastics and working in the auto industry, I convinced McDonald's to make me their joint venture partner for Colombia in 1995. We opened the first restaurant. In fact, we opened 10 restaurants the first 12 months. It's the fastest opening that McDonald's has done in the world up to that moment. And we became the success story to be told at that moment.
His bosses back in Chicago congratulated him. He had achieved what most people would define as success: money, fame, power.
Well, those days in McDonald's were very hectic. We were very full of activity. One day, for example, we were about to open the first restaurant, and I was traveling to Caracas that day. And it was one of those days that everything goes wrong. I wouldn't take time to eat. I was skipping a lot of meals.
He thought he might be reaching his limit.
Steward who said something that was terrible, and I got upset. And because of that, being upset, I ended up with an aneurysm. And they opened my head. There's a scar here to show it. They opened my head, and when they closed it, they left a few screws loose. And that's why I can do what I do now. Being successful when you are running a company and you end up with an aneurysm because of bad management of stress, I think that's a disconnect.
Despite that scare, he kept on working. He knew he wanted something else. He wanted to achieve true success. 4 years later, while he was teaching a class at a university in Colombia, he finally connected the dots. Colombia was at one of its lowest points after years of war.
I was running McDonald's and teaching a business strategy class, and I asked my 39 students, how many of you see yourselves in Colombia in 5 years? 12 raised their hands. And I turned to the other 27 and I said, how about yourselves? They said, tell us why we should stay in Colombia. I said, well, you know, the coffee and the emeralds and the two oceans and the flowers, and I couldn't think of anything else. And a professor with arguments is no good. So I felt frustrated. Put together a research project, 18 months in 5 universities, and we put together a talk called ¿Por qué creer en Colombia? Why one should believe in Colombia.
His ambition was now to inspire people and encourage them to believe in their country and in their dreams.
I started to deliver this talk in 2001, and this got like wildfire. I gave that talk 256 times. Some days I would do it 5 and 6 times a day. And the thing became so big, I decided to leave the corporate world.
Today, Pedro's life looks very different from that of a businessman always on the go.
When I left McDonald's, I had literally reams of to-dos, things that were pending that I hadn't done. I don't carry pending issues. I don't carry all that. So I have peace of mind.
He gave up his luxury apartment in Bogota, the capital of Colombia, and he built this house on the edge of the city with materials he found here.
And we're here in a place called La Minga, which is a center for expansion of consciousness, which is a beautiful mud house. And here we have a couple of rooms to do our seminars or to do our workshops or to do our talks. It's a place that has 38 species of birds, 99 species of butterflies. It has a creek with 6 waterfalls, and for me it's paradise. I live in paradise. I go to bed listening to the frogs, and I wake up listening to the birds. and I live surrounded by nature. Nature helps me connect with the systems of life, helps me understand the interconnection of everything. There's other ways of connecting, there's other ways of sharing. So I think if we learn to weave, if we learn to connect with other human beings.
But at the same time, he unplugged from other aspects of life.
We disconnected the fridge 8 months ago. And since that moment, the electric bill arrives for 50% of what it did before. The electric company came to do an audit. They thought we were stealing the energy or something. But we're vegetarians, we don't eat meat, we don't eat dairy products, very little dairy products. And everything we cook is fresh, so we don't need a fridge.
Making money is no longer his priority. Still, he comes up with ways to support himself.
La Minga is totally self-financing. We do events here, and we have what we need, and we do barters. We manage to live in a very comfortable way. Not a lot of excesses, not a lot of savings.
He found a new meaning of success.
I appreciate deeply the lessons that being on the edge of death brought to me. And I now tell people I don't look for success, I look for significance. And I think helping people invent choices is one of the things that I really enjoy doing now. That they have choices to create a more austere way of living, and more fun way of living. I live in great fun with lots of austerity. So as we develop better habits, as we realize that the richest is not the one that has the most, but the one that needs the least, and we reduce our needs.
He knows that doing well for others means also doing well for yourself.
So the willingness to do something different, the willingness to step out and just do what's right for you, do what's right for others, I think makes all the difference in the world. And I went from thinking about market share and impact and profit and all these elements to thinking about transcendence.
One man's journey to a place we all hope to reach.